Hello, Ross here from Britain's Hidden History again, discussing the amazing findings in the book Artorius Rex by Wilson and Blackett. And this topic now with what we call Roman emperors, what we've been told are Roman emperors, were they actually British kings? I mean, at first this might sound ridiculous, and then we'll go through it. I mean, did the British kings become Roman emperors? Or was actually, as seems more likely, when you look at the evidence, the empire was run from Britain. So really, what was Roman about it? But anyway, we'll come on to these things as we go through the book, okay? There's lots to cover. So this is page 16. I will put some lists up to help you with the names. Right, so anyone making the most cursory study of the kings of Glamorgan and Gwent could not fail to identify the three very peculiar features concerning the kings of the period roughly 100 to 240 AD. It's not a direct line of succession, okay? And the curious thing is, we're going to look more at in this, neither was the supposed succession of Roman emperors. And the parallels between the two are what give the clues. The names and the way in which they took the throne and the durations, the dates, everything. Watch this. It really is, well, the word they use in the book is astonishing. It's a pretty good one. All right, so first, there are far too many kings for a stable, well-organized dynasty. Second, the normal practice of descent through the eldest son of the king, except where irrational behavior or juvenile errors occur, does not apply during this period. Third, quite contrary to normal custom, there appear to be dual kingships, i.e. two kingships at the same time. And elections of kings from two or even three lines of the family. Instead of just following the senior line, they're picking kings, emperors, whatever. Right, clearly something very peculiar was happening during this rough period. In order to understand, rough period 100 to 240 AD. In order to understand what was happening, we have to turn to the emperors of Rome for the answers. Very clearly, Rome was ruled by hereditary emperors from the Julian and Aemilian families from 27 BC to 69 AD. Right, 69 AD is when the problems start, okay? With the exception of Augustus, 27 to 14 BC, and Claudius, who wasn't around too long anyway, 41 to 54 AD. These rulers provided an incredible line of deviant, mentally unbalanced, and viciously dangerous incompetence. You have to love the writing in these books. The recorded views of these other six, Tiberius, Caligula, Nero, Galbo, Otto, and Vitellius, tell a sordid story of misrule, treachery, and debauchery. In order to rid themselves of this appalling tyranny of mad governments, the Roman Senate accepted the rule of 5 successive generals. These could be called the good generals, although one of them, Domitian, depends how you like it, was in many ways capriciously unstable in his actions. So, first came Vespasian, a notable general ruling as emperor from 69 AD to the year 79. After Vespasian came his elder son Titus from 79 to 81 AD, sacking of Jerusalem, all that stuff. Followed by the youngest son Domitian from 81 to 96 AD. You'll see all these names in a minute. Next came Nerva from 96 to 98, and then Trajan from 98 to 117. So when historians look at, they call these shifts, they have a term. You've got the hereditary emperors. So you've got your Julius Caesar, Augustus, Tiberius, Caligula, Claudius, what a bunch, eh? Nero, Galba, Otho, and Vitellius. And then you have the ones which are elected, or adoptive is the other term used. So you've got your Vespasian, Titus, although Vespasian did get his sons in, slightly more complicated as we'll see. Vespasian, Titus, Domitian, Nerva, Trajan, and Hadrian, famous one who gets the war he didn't build, named after him, Hadrian's War. Right, so this system is not one likely to trace the origin of these emperors after 96 AD. So 96 AD is a crucial time, because these are no longer hereditary emperors. So now the fun is, the challenge that Wilson and Blackett have really latched onto is finding who they were and where did they come from, okay? Right, so the Galba, Otho, Vitellius can be all traced to the descent of the Julian-Claudian lines and are therefore hereditary emperors. We are simply trying to establish which emperors were hereditary and which were elective or adoptive. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Just bear with me. Or bear with Wilson and Blackett. There can be no doubt that the tendency was always to establish dynastic rule, is as shown by Vespasian being followed by his two sons, Titus and Domitian. Domitian actually succeeded in making himself so unpopular that he was denied burial by the Senate. Or the Senate denied him a burial, I would say. Anyway, this then appears to have moved matters into an era of nominated and ratified emperors, no longer hereditary, okay? From the time of Trajan onwards, they developed a system of emperors nominating a close relative as their successor, and this nomination being ratified by the Senate, or not. This was a system of choice. A son, a cousin, a nephew, or uncle of the current emperor to be his co-Augustus and successor. The question which has to be posed and answered is, where, this is the big question, right? Where did the Romans find a royal house capable of providing suitable hereditary emperors? The question of where did the Roman Senate find a legitimate hereditary line of emperors brings us back to the marriage mentioned in the last video between King Gwairith, who was Arviragus, the War King, and Janissa, the woman said to be the daughter of Emperor Claudius. Descendants of this marriage, which would have taken place around 43 to 44 AD, would have been eminently suitable candidates for nomination as emperors some 80 to 100 years later. Right? So what's happened? There's been the attempted invasion of Britain, which Wilson Blackett would say is unsuccessful, but whatever way you want to look at that. What you do have, Claudius' daughter marrying into the British royal family, and they have got viable heirs who are legitimate. So 80 to 100 years later, all the disasters with the emperors in Rome, looking for new emperors, here's a royal line, here's a line of descent. It's the logical place to come for them. Okay. So the period from roughly, so we go on to the charts I'll show you now. The period from roughly 138 to 238 AD certainly records far too many kings in South Wales. There is also an illogical switching of seniority between three lines of royal descendants. Primarily the senior descent is through King Caradoc and back to Brutus. I haven't put this graph in, but if you buy the book, you will see. Maybe you can screenshot that. I'll try and make it as good as I can. So you can get an idea then of the royal houses, all tracing back to, there's Caradoc's line. Then there's the line through the marriage with Emperor Claudius. And you see them vying with each other and kings being picked from the different lines. Okay, which is an astonishing parallel with what was happening with... have I missed a page there? Nope, this is it. So the senior line is going back to Caradoc and Brutus. Okay, so let's see if we can get this to work. Why isn't it giving us the lines? Here we go. The astonishing parallel. Okay, so I'm leaving the book slightly here. I'm just going to go through some of them. So on the left, you've got the British king with matching dates. Well, yeah, they are matching, really. I mean, it depends how you look at the records. It might be a little bit here or there, perhaps. One of the things Wilson Blackett talk about is quite often you get this 33-year gap between British records and other records, like the Roman records. And this would go back to the dating from Jesus, whether you do it from the birth or from the crucifixion. We'll go into that another time, okay? So what we have here, on the left-hand side, so for example, King Aleru ap Ysbwyth, and the Emperor of Rome at the time is Antonius. So Alan Aleru, Antonius seem to have similar names. A little bit of a parallel, but nothing too astonishing yet, except they're around the same time. And there's the full title for Antonius: Titus Aurelius Fulvius Boionius Arius Antonius Pius. Wow, great stuff. The Welsh is a similar thing with their ap, son of. So there we go. Anyway, so we got Marcion parallels with Marcus. Marcus, obvious similarity there. Then we've got Llaerug, Lucius. Lucius is the Latin for Llaerug, so that's basically the same name. And then we got Crallo, becomes Commodus. His name's even Commodus Britannicus. He's even got Britain on his blinking name, right? On his cognomen. Or then we got the Legate, as he's called, which ties in with that time when we had Pertinax chosen by the Senate to take over things there, okay? Then the next one, we're down to about 192 now. You got King Corrug paralleling with Clodius, okay? And this way we have a co-emperor situation. And then we got Severini, which it ties in, it would seem, with the name Seven, and then sure enough, Septimus Severus. So Severini becomes Severus. I mean, it's the same name. This is weird. And as you see in the book, you can track down the tombstones of these Welsh kings or British kings and see where they lived and where they're buried. This carries on. Look at this. So you got King Gwrthwyl, Gita, Marcion, Macrinus, Ensith is Elagabalus. All the dates match up, right? It's this. People always jump in and say, "Oh, no, rubbish." Have a look at it. The evidence is so compelling. You shouldn't just throw it out, okay? You should not just throw it out. Something is seriously going on here, okay? Then we got an Arthvile. That's not the one you're thinking of. That's another similar name. There's another situation that happens when people attack their work. Say, oh, you just find any name that looks like Arthur and call him Arthur and off you go. No, it's not like that at all. All right, there's an Arthvile. Another confusing thing is that Arthurs and variations were popular names, and there's a number of them around. Okay? That's not the Arthurs we're talking about with Arthur 1 and 2. All right, King Arthvile here. So you've got Arthvile Alexander. 222 to 235, and then we got Gurgen Gaius Varus. Then we got Meirig is Maximinus, and then Clare. See, Meirig again, another name that gets repeated, and is also the father of the famous King Arthur. Anyway, that's another subject. Have a look at the list, check it out for yourself. King Crier, Clausius, and you can see where he's buried. And then you got Casna, Chrysanthus. So it's what doesn't come across just by looking at the list, and is more explained in the book, but it's a difficult concept to get across, is the idea that it's not just the names being similar and the dates being similar. It's the case of when there's two kings in Britain, there's two emperors in Rome. When you get an appointed, like a legate or something, someone's appointed in Britain as a temporary position. When you have a son, it's the son. The whole bizarre way in which things happen is the same. It's the same, or incredibly remarkably similar. This cannot be coincidence. There must be some reason. Other possible reasons may be, I don't know, a history was copied from one to the other or something like that. But they seem to be quite independent. I don't know, have we just been misled? I mean, there's this kind of fetish, I call it, where everything has to be Roman. The history has to be Roman, buildings, everything. And, you know, this is quite a new idea. Anyway, let's not drift away from the book. Right, so I'll just go back to finish off the description here. Keeping these videos quite short if I can. This list shows an astonishing parallel of names, relationships, and career characteristics between the traditionally recorded British kings and the emperors of Rome who lived at exactly the same times. Okay, well, I've just gone through the list. How much have we got to go through? I'll just give a couple with his descriptions are better than mine. The first of the alter ego king emperors we list is King Alan Areru and Titus Aurelius Fulvius Boionius Arius Antonius Pius 138 to 161 AD. The British list his father as Ysbwyth ap Manoedan, who appears to parallel Marcus Ulpius Trajanus, born in Seville. It is not possible that Ysbwyth means Ulpius. Trajanus or Trajan nominated his ward and cousin Hadrian as his successor on his deathbed, and there is a suspicion that he didn't know such thing. His wife, Plotina, having invented the deathbed adoption. So his wife said, yeah, just as he was dying, he said, this bloke should be emperor. Certainly the British practice was to name a man by his name plus that of his father, grandfather, and so on. And these Roman emperors are doing something very similar, naming their most important ancestors to emphasize their claims. And what we do then, actually I'll do maybe just a separate video on that, because you can actually follow up and go and visit some of the burial sites. King Kerry, if you look on videos, I'll try and dig it out in the description. For example, King Kerry here, Llwyngoen, he's buried, you can see his boat-shaped mound at the Heneglois above Nash Point. And it's as stated in the Songs of the Graves, he's buried there. It was west of Porth Kerry, which is Kerry's port or harbour, named after him, close to Font de Gary, Funning Kerry's Fountain. So the Songs of the Graves describes where Kerry's buried. He was a naval man, he's overlooking the sea. Sorry, that terrible joke by David Jason sprung into my mind. Are you a naval man? No, I'm more of a leg man, but anyway. Let's... I shouldn't do this. Stick to the subject, Ross. Anyway, and you can see where, for example, King Barham is buried at Tumbalum, above Risca, which you can see from Caerleon up on the hill. And another place I'm going to be going to with a drone. So, there we go. I'm going to stop it there, because if you want to dig into all the details of all the kings and who they all were, where they're buried and everything, I would suggest getting a copy of the book, although I will try and do some more in this as well, because we also get a parallel which goes right up into what's called the heroic era, when we get into the British invasion of Europe and Arthur I, moving on to eventually Arthur II. So there's a lot of stuff in here. And like I said, every few pages is a big subject. So hope you enjoyed that. More soon. Till the next time. Heddwch.